What's going on, Blerds and Blerdette? I'm RJ,
I'm Trey.
I'm Jay.
and welcome to For the Blerdture, where Blerd is Bond. This week's episode is special not only because it's our first show, but on today's episode, we're going to be discussing Blerd and nerd culture from the ground up. We're going to be talking about our personal Blerd journeys from childhood and how we proudly walk in our Blerd adult shoes now. With that being said, welcome to our first episode, How to Build a Blerd.
Welcome.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming. Those of you who don't know, we've been doing a lot behind the scenes, getting to know each other, just trying to put this show together and put it together right. So it took us a while to get everything rolling, but we're here, we're ready to get it popping. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to throw our first question over to Trey, and I kind of want you to kind of give your own personal definition of what do you think defines someone as a nerd.
All right. So my personal definition of that, I'm going to say, someone who gets so immersed in one certain thing that other people might think is not as cool, like say, anime or comic books, a certain character, and you just kind of build that into your life in something that you just really love, and like me, love Spider-Man. Sorry, wrong side. Love Spider-Man.
Camera flip.
Yeah. And everyone that knows me just knows I'm like obsessed with Spider-Man. So, among many other things, but I'd say that I'm definitely a nerd for all of that.
So you're the friend that whenever somebody mentions Spider-Man in the group, they just turn to you and just wait for you to say what you got to say.
Yeah.
I'm the Harry Potter one.
Okay.
So whenever somebody vaguely mentions Harry Potter, everybody just stops and they're just waiting for me to just. I'm like, dude, I have social skills. I'm not just gonna follow Harry Potter facts to a random stranger, but I'm the Harry Potter one. So I get where you're coming from on that. What about you, Jay? What defines a nerd for you?
So for me, nerd defines basically not just the color of your skin. It just defines what story catches the most attention to you in any category or character. And I think that Blerdum defines you basically as a person who wants to see themselves come from the ground up, as I always say, because of just how Black people, how we are, and the situations we've been in. And I think that for me, it's just a matter of how we progress and get better, and we relate to that through comics and movies and TV. And it's not necessarily we want to be like them, but we idolize them enough to think that we can become something like that, remixed into this life that we live, versus the something that's not real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. I like how you tie that together and just piggybacking off of what you guys said. To me, I guess a nerd is someone who has a unique or common interests that aren't necessarily popular, or I guess I don't know. I don't want to say well liked, but you have unique and common interests, that other people eventually grow out of, and you still kind of have that obsessive nature. Because I think being a nerd, being obsessive is part of being a nerd. Always going to buy, the wrestling T-shirts or
the Marvel tees,
just spending your money. Not yet. Hopefully, we'll get some merch soon. We'll be rocking the For the Blerdture shirt soon. But it's just spending your money on things that you shouldn't be spending your money on. Spending your last $30 on a Black Panther mask that I have sitting on my mantle. It's things like that. So I feel like being a nerd is having unique common interests that you have somewhat of an unhealthy obsession with, but at the same time, it's something that brings you that peace. It's something that you can kind of, see yourself in. Nerddom for me is an escape from reality. So for me, that's kind of why I fell into, the nerd category, because I fell into the world of sci-fi and fantasy. And that kind of, for me, is my escape. So I feel like nerddom to a certain extent is your escape from not necessarily reality, but from reality, for lack of a better word. And sometimes we don't fit in with society all the way. So I feel like that's also a component of nerddom, and I feel like that kind of separates pop culture nerddom from actual nerddom. When I was a kid, I was playing Pokemon like everybody else, but suddenly everybody grew up, and now I'm the only one still with trading cards. I'm still the only one playing the game. So for me, it's about walking in your Blerd or your nerd shoes by yourself after all the fad stuff is gone. So for me, that's kind of what I define as a nerd.
I don't care what nobody say. Pokemon is one of the most addictive games in the history of video games. So
for real,
that's something that's something that you just don't forget, man. You can't forget.
It gives you such a nostalgic feeling. I remember I probably failed a couple of tests because I was playing when I shouldn't have been playing. I vividly remember getting screamed at by my mom one time, like in 5th or 6th grade, and she was saying, "You're probably failing the test because you're thinking about ways to beat that Pokemon game." and I had to laugh because she was right, because I remember being in class trying to figure out how to, like, okay, if I go this way with the arrows and do that, I'll be able to get to the thing. When I tell you, like, I was literally in school dreaming about how to beat Pokemon. I couldn't even be mad at my mom because she was exactly right. I couldn't even lie.
I feel that. I remember on the Game Boy Advance, it didn't have the light up screen yet. So I'll be playing it in the car and it's dark at night. So I had to wait till we pass a street light.
To start playing again. To the side. Yeah. And those were the days, man.
Yeah, that battery power is crazy.
Unless you had the little light that goes attached to the Game Boy, but I ain't had that for a while.
I didn't.
I never had it. I just ended up having to look for street lights, like Trey said. I never had that.
If you had that, you had luxury. You had a luxurious childhood.
I wish I did. I did get that from a friend.
I always thought people who had the Game Sharks and the Game Links were rich because my parents would never get them for me. I said, well, I need it so I can battle. And they're like, you ain't battling nobody. You need to be worried about them tests you keep failing. So maybe if I would have passed the test, I would have had a light and a Game Link.
Hey, that's how they get you. You got to get good grades to get the good stuff.
Well, obviously, I didn't get good grades because I never got it. So that kind of helps me segue into our next topic. When did you guys realize that y'all were, I guess, different when y'all were nerds? When did you guys first start realizing, like, damn, I'm different, I'm a nerd?
Man, I think probably in elementary school. I remember this one day, I guess I brought a comic, some random comic I had for like show and tell or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I had it out all day and I took it to my little after school program, and then it was like gone, like someone stole it. And I remember getting so upset about it. And I was like, why am I so upset about this thing? And I was like, it's because I'm like, this is what I love. Like, I love this stuff. So I was like, that's probably the first moment I was like, I think I might be some kind of like nerd, something like that. I didn't know what it was at that point, but I was, one of my comic books.
Such a nerd rage build up.
Yeah. Okay. And then, funny story, I actually figured out what comic it was years later, and it was the Marvel Mangaverse series. Which super dope.
Did you ever get it back, or did somebody just it was a wrap?
I never got it back, but I just ended up buying a new one a couple years ago.
Well, at least you were able to replace it in your adulthood.
True.
And whoever's out there, if you have that comic, count your blessings.
Count your blessings.
Count your blessings. What about you, Jay? When did you realize you were a nerd?
Man, so I realized when I was a nerd when I saw, the Spider-Man animated series, and then I went to my backyard and pretended to swing on the trees and shit. That's what I knew. I was just like, hey, that really defined me, just because I love the Spider-Man animated series. When I was a kid, that really was a huge inspiration for me, trying to just understand who Spider-Man was. And just through, you know, all of his rogues gallery of villains and his storylines, I just was really connected to it.
So you felt drawn to you. So both of you, I'm sensing you guys both felt drawn to what you really loved, and you kind of felt that connection, you know, with Spider-Man and, you know, your comics and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I say it was the same for me. I felt more in tune with certain things, and I never outgrew them like the rest of my friends. I guess outgrew, for lack of a better word. And that's when I kind of realized that, you know, my friends were putting the controllers down and they were going outside, and, you know, when they were doing things like riding bikes, and, you know, I'm sitting there learning how to actually play the actual Pokemon card game. And I feel like that's kind of when I realized that, you know, I may be a nerd. I knew I was a dork, but I never got the nerd vibe, and I don't think I accepted it until probably like maybe a couple years ago, when I guess it became cool to like comics and, you know, superhero movies and things like that. And I'm thinking, well, where were y'all when, you know, I wanted to go to Comic-Con and stuff like that, and I got laughed at? Where were y'all when I got laughed at for buying comics and things like that? Or, you know, like in animation past a certain age, you know, I just, you know, but we'll get into the, you know, I guess the nerd renaissance, you know, towards the end of the show. But that's kind of when I realized, as everybody was going out of things, I was still in them. And I think what really helped me was my god sister. Shout out to Lashir, if you're watching. She was the first person that I really looked up to that was into anime, that was, you know, into, you know, just whatever she liked. You know, she listened to whatever music she wanted to listen. She dressed how she wanted to dress, and, you know, she didn't care. And I think having that kind of nerd role model is important for children, because you won't find your passion trying to be like everybody else, you know. So I think it's important for everybody to have that kind of nerd role model. I'm thankful and grateful that I had her, because without her, I don't think I would. I think I would have, you know, went another way and just liked stuff that everybody traditionally liked. Did you guys have anybody, you know, that kind of, you know, brought you into the nerd life, or did you guys just naturally gravitate into it?
Man, so when I was little, my mom's friend, he actually gave me my first comic book. I'm not sure what comic book it was. I'm pretty sure it was some kind of Spider-Man comic book, but yeah, he kind of just gave me my first comic book. But then after that, there was not really anyone around me who kind of liked the same stuff. So I was like kind of the trendsetter in that way, in like my group of friends that I had.
Okay.
I was like, hey, you need to watch this anime. Let me put you on this, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's pretty much
that's the story.
Yeah.
What about you, Jay?
Man, I guess being able to I think what took me through my journey was basically just trying to you know, just I don't know, you know how big I am on costumes, and you know, I was always about like, you know, how things look.
Yeah.
And that's what really attracts me to a character or somebody. And I think that's what really like attracted me, was the costumes. And because when I was a kid, you know, my mom always wanted to dress me nice, and you know, just by dressing up nice, I just wanted to, you know, just always dress like that all the time. And you know, when I see superheroes in costumes, they're always dressing nice. The suit looks nice. I feel like you know, it's just a reminiscent of when I was a child trying to portray what looking nice is, but that was in the suit. Yeah. That's what I wanted to dress like all the time. So
So you got hooked on, I guess, the look, for a lack of a better word, and you kind of just, you know, stayed or whatever because it spoke to you. It's funny you say that, because I forgot what professional wrestler said, you know, when they went to their first show and they saw the costumes and the gear and, you know, the robes and the capes and everything, and that's kind of what caught their attention, and that's how they got into wrestling, was by, you know, watching just, you know, the look of it all, the feel, I guess just like you said, I guess the suits, for lack of a better word. And I think we spoke about how important suit was on Hero Harrison Talk when we did Shazam, and we kind of like broke down his costume, and like I said, that makes sense because even with art style can be something that, you know, pulls you in. You like to draw, and you open a comic book and you see everything that you want to draw inside that book,
and you can kind of draw it yourself and make whatever tweaks you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you're young, you don't really pay attention too much to the story. You know, when like you're, you know, like 10 years old, whatever, you're more focused on what the heroes look like. Because you know, your brain's not really there yet to understand everything. I mean, you understand some things here and there, but you don't really catch on to stories until you get a little older. So I think you know, when you're young, in my opinion, I think that, you know, most people just look at the design or like how a character looks and they're like, oh, that's cool. And then that was what really attracts them to the character. So
yeah, I know when I was little, I would mostly just look at the comic panels instead of really reading the story. But then sometimes I would like go back and be like, maybe I should try to read this. Maybe let's see what this is about. And that's, you know, immerse yourself even more.
Yeah, it's funny you said, because I did the same thing. I would just look at the panels and didn't know what the hell happened in the comic, but I know I like the art. And like I said, as I got older, I went back and said, let me just read and see what this is actually about, because I definitely was the type of person just to look at the panels and the art and kind of like priest what happened or whatever. But yeah, that's definitely, I get what you're saying 100% on that. So next topic I want to talk about is, what is your claim to nerddom? Like, if someone pulls your nerd card and they said, hey, what makes you a nerd? Either you tell me something that's legit, or we're gonna have to square up. What is your claim? And I'll give an example first. Well, I'll give myself as an example first. My claim to nerddom is fantasy. I love anything with a world that's not like our own. Anything dealing with magic or sci-fi, space. As I said before, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I'm a huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. My claim to my nerd throne is fantasy. So with that being said, Jay, what's your claim to, which I kind of have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but what's your claim to nerddom?
My claim, you probably already know, I'm going to say is story. Just because one thing that I'm about is things with a purpose in life, and I like how characters that I get to see in comics, you know, unravel a story and have like a huge continuity of things that, you know, can branch off into different stories, but still come back to the same thing. And I just think that's the beauty of comic books and just books in general. You know, things that people like, things that connect. And I think what drove me is that, you know, there's just these amounts of stories that we keep getting, you know, from Marvel and DC and other comic lines. And it's just, it's overwhelming, but it's fun at the same time, because you get all this stuff into one and it all connects, or it doesn't connect, but it's still fun. And there's dark stories. You don't get all the same stories. And I think that's what keeps me on my toes, that I get to read a different story about different stuff and learn something at the same time.
I think that's why you like DC so much. And I think that's kind of why you kind of, I guess, bury yourself in that universe, because you do get such good stories from DC. And we talk about this all the time, about how we root for DC, you know, to work the kinks out, and, you know, their live action, but their animation is top tier. And, you know, to piggyback off what you said, their storytelling and their animation is ridiculously like next level.
I haven't watched a DC animated movie that was bad, honestly.
Exactly.
Same. It's the story of it. Their writing is impeccable, man, with their animation.
The voice actors are fantastic as well, too.
Yes.
Everything.
I just think one thing I think is that I just don't see how, you know, Warner Brothers does own DC, and it's like, why don't you take some of these stories from your animated films, which are a huge success, and just make that into a live action film?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, not necessarily exactly like it, but something similar. So
Yep, 100%, man. What about you, Trey? What's your claim to nerddom?
So I'd probably say just everything that really interests me, you know, like Spider-Man, just Marvel Comics, DC Comics, anime. I'm like a big nerd for Kung Fu, anything Bruce Lee, you know, I'm with that. And then I just love to, you know, read all these stories and then, you know, watch the movies and see, oh, this came from this story. This came from this. Here's an Easter egg for this and this thing. And, you know, I just like noticing that and, you know, letting other people know that so then they can get a little bit more interested too. Like I was watching Ghost Rider the other day. I was rewatching Ghost Rider and I just looked up the main villain's name and it was the son of Mephisto. And I hadn't realized that. So then I was like, what's he look like? Excuse me. And then I looked up a picture of him. I forget what his name. I think it's like Dark Heart or something like that.
Yeah,
Black Heart.
Yeah.
And then I looked up a picture of him and I realized that it even connects even more into the comics because there was a comic I read, I think it was Miles Morales, Spider-Man, like issue 1, where Miles Morales Spider-Man pretty much takes out Blackheart by himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like,
you went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is this dude. This connects to this thing. And it just gave me a whole new appreciation for it, even though I had like a huge appreciation for it. Otherwise, it's just everything that connects is just really cool to me.
Yeah.
Okay. That all makes sense. It's sort of like, you know, you get lost. I feel like you get lost in things that you enjoy that are nerdy, which I feel like you're supposed to do. I remember being on the Harry Potter website for like 2 hours one day, and I swore I was only on there for like 20 minutes. And I looked up, and I was on there for like a couple of hours. This is when it had first launched. But when you are a nerd, you have to obsess. You have to go down that rabbit hole. It's something that's impulsive. You can't help it. And I feel like that's kind of what separates, I guess, a hobby or an interest from a nerd hobby and a nerd interest, is that we're compulsive. We don't know how to stop. We're impulsive. We don't know how to stop.
So my question to you is, what house did you get?
Oh, Slytherin. I took it several times. I'm a Slytherin all day. I
got Hufflepuff, bro. I don't. Man, that was
sorry. We're now casting for a third.
It wasn't my choice. It wasn't my choice.
And Deadpool, when they were doing all the tryouts and all that.
Part of the tryout has to be, you have to take the Harry Potter test. We're looking for a third. We're looking for a replacement. That was quick.
I'll retake the test.
Less than an episode.
Gryffindor this time.
Less than one full episode, and we're already looking for a new cast member.
Yeah, watch yourself, Trey. No.
Right? You're on thin ice, Hufflepuff.
Yikes. Next time I'll just lie.
Yeah, exactly. You should just lie. You should have hit that.
Now, Jacob, have you?
I know some good Hufflepuffs. I do. So yeah. You could stay for now.
Okay.
But that actually brings me to my next topic. How important are fandoms to nerd culture? Because I feel like there's a difference between you liking something and something being a fandom. Not every movie or television show or series has a fandom. Like Harry Potter has a fandom. Avatar has a fandom. Star Wars has a fandom. So I guess what I'm asking is, as far as like being a nerd, is it important that you have at least one fandom to rep, or can you just be a nerd and not be part of a fandom?
I think for these properties, I think it's important to have fandoms for them so that, you know, they can progress in, you know, whatever they're doing. They can bring it to the big screen. They can make more issues, you know, stuff like that. But I also think as a nerd, you don't necessarily need a fandom, but, you know, all the more power to you if you are a part of one. because then, you know, you can join with other people that are also in that fandom. They can point stuff out to you that you may not have noticed.
Yeah.
And, you know, just, you know, full circle brings you more immersed into whatever it is that you're just a huge nerd for, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. What about you, Jake?
Man, I like questions like this. I was still thinking and listening to it at the same time.
Hey, what, want me to jump in while you think?
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm trying to multitask,
Okay.
but no, I agree with everything that Trey said. I mean, you know, more power to him. But in my opinion, it's kind of hard because it's a great question, RJ. I think that, you know, for example, you get those Star Wars fans and then you get the Star Trek fans. And then, you know, they all want to fight over what's better.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily I would call it a fandom. I would just call that, you know,
that's a
Star
game.
Yeah.
The war of the properties.
Yeah, exactly. Gil.
Yeah. So I feel like people try to fight for one fandom to think it's better than another fandom. If that makes sense. I think so. I think I don't think one is better than the other. I just think that people make marks on what they got or what they make.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that I think fandom's great. I'm all about it because obviously, you know, I'm a huge Marvel and DC fan, and I don't think one's better than the other. But I mean, obviously, I'm a more Marvel fan than a
Those
DC
fandoms are volatile, man. They go at each other's neck.
For real.
Yeah, so it's just like because that's the thing. Like, one tells just as good stories, and the other has like better character development. But to answer you, like to really answer your question though, I feel like I like fandom. I still feel like you can be a nerd within all these things because it just means you're more diverse with everything.
Mm-hmm.
You have more knowledge.
You can relate to more things that people are also fans of.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I also feel like just because you are in one fandom does not mean you can't be in the other. Like perfect example, DC and Marvel. You and I talk about this a lot, how, you know, they're both great in their own way. One does one thing well, another one does another thing well. And I feel like nerds have gotten, and I don't know if it's just the internet making, you know, or exposing people's toxicity, but I feel like people have lost the ability to, I guess, like more than one thing at a time. You can like Xbox and you can like PlayStation. You may be too poor to buy both, like most people, but you can like both. You can like DC animation and like Marvel. You know, I think people kind of have lost their way, and that people are so ready to argue about everything these days, man. And it just kind of takes away the fun. And I say that to say, like professional wrestling. I had tweeted something. I said, for you guys to be wrestling fans, you sure hate something that you watch every Monday and Friday. And I got, you know, some feedback from it, but I feel like people don't understand that a fandom is supposed to be an expression of your love and your passion for your interests. It's supposed to be a community of people coming together to discuss their interests and their love for whatever fandom that they're in. And I feel like we've lost that way. And I to answer my own question, I think that for your peace of mind and for your enjoyment of what you enjoy, fandom is not crucial. You can be in a Facebook group that discusses your fandom. You can, you know, go to Comic-Con and, you know, take pictures with people, but you don't have to participate in the the toxicity of a fandom in order to enjoy your fandom. So to answer my own question, I think you guys are right. I agree with you guys 100%. A fandom is good. You know, it helps you interact with your community more, but I don't think it's necessarily necessary to be part of a fandom, because at some point they turn into a damn gang and you're ready to throw hands over something that you're not getting paid to make or paid to watch. So that's how I feel about that. So segueing into our last topic, let's talk about how, I guess, the renaissance of nerd culture and how it's kind of now the popular thing to like Marvel, DC, comics, trading card games, Pokemon, gaming, and at one point this stuff was looked down upon. So tell me about. I want you guys to talk to me and tell me about your experience of how. I have to edit this out because my dog is drinking really loud.
No, it's
distracting me. I want to do one without editing, but I'm sorry, fellas, but the sound to me is like somebody chewing with their mouth open. So it really it irritates me.
Yeah.
And he does this a lot. Yeah, I can't.
That.
Yeah, okay.
No, I respect that.
Yeah, and he's old, so I can't like tell him not to drink water. He has a condition, so he has to drink like constantly. I'm trying to tune it out. All right, what was I saying? Damn, what was I saying? That really threw me off. And I gave him some dog weed too, so he'd go to sleep. But I guess his mouth is dry now. High ass. But,
cotton mouth like a.
He got cotton mouth. But what was I saying?
You're talking about how everything adds up, like why we all like this stuff. Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about how now it's cool, it's popular to be a nerd. So I want you guys to explain to me how you feel about how far I guess nerd culture has come from when you were a kid to now, and how it's now cool to like Marvel, DC, anime, comics, gaming, and how it's now, I guess, acceptable to like what you've always liked.
Man, so first of all, I want to say the answer to your last question was immaculate. So
thank you.
And then man, low key, it kind of makes me mad because growing up, I'm trying to put everyone on it. You need to read you need to get on this. This movie's awesome.
Yeah.
Watch this anime, and everyone's just kind of like, nah, okay. I don't really do that. And now I got friends texting me like, what order should I watch the Marvel movies in? Or, how should I watch Star Wars? Like, and I'm just like you guys, it could have been so easy. You could have just done it when I told you to, and now it's a popular thing. Now you're trying to catch up to everyone who has liked it since the jump. And it's just kind of irritating, but also at the same time, I kind of like it because now we can talk about it more with people.
Yeah.
And maybe actually put some more people on to new experiences with movies and comic books, anime, show someone a fight scene on YouTube and then they want to watch the whole movie now,
Yeah.
So I kind of like it and I kind of don't at the same time.
Bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To piggyback off what you saying, Trey, just to dive deeper in what you were saying, I think that everything you said, I agree with 100%. It's like, I've been trying to put you on for so long and you kind of push that off. And to piggyback off that, I feel like that when you're younger, you try to, engage with people and try to figure out, what you like and stuff. But when something sticks, it sticks with you. But, it's okay for people not to like the same thing. But at the same time, everything that we like all kind of adds up. And what I mean by that is that, for someone who likes video games, someone is going to like comics. For someone who likes comics, someone's going to like TV. So for someone who likes TV, someone's going to like film. So, and then so on and so on. So I think that we're all in the same realm no matter what. Even if it's not like, one specific genre, not it's just like comics or strictly one thing. So I think that, I mean, like I said, I'm with Trey. I hate it now that people are realizing like, oh, hey, man, because it's the same with him. Like people are asking me like, hey, like what's the origin of a Ghost Rider or something? And I'm like, well, I'm gonna explain it to you. So I mean, just stuff like that. So
I'm just like, where were y'all when I was getting made fun of for like this?
Exactly.
Where were y'all at then?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm with you, Trey. I think we all got, made fun of to a point where, we're just like, I forget y'all, until y'all want to come along, then just come along. And it's happening now.
Comic books.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny I'll say that because like I said, I'm a big Harry Potter like nerd, and I have a friend who I'm not gonna put on blast on here, but they pretend to like Harry Potter to impress a girl. And so every time she sends a Harry Potter meme, he doesn't know how to respond. So he sends it to me, and I have to explain the reference to him so that way he doesn't look like a liar. And it's the funniest thing to me. And I'm setting him up because one day he's going to send me a meme and I'm going to tell him the incorrect reference just to fuck with him. Because I feel like you don't disrespect my fandom. I've been trying to put you on for forever, and you pretending to be a Gryffindor and all of this stuff, or a Ravenclaw, or whatever. He's a Ravenclaw, or whatever. But you perpetrating. You know, you ain't real. You wasn't with me. Abracadabering, Avada in the gym. You wasn't there. You wasn't Aloha Morin with me. You wasn't there.
You wasn't simplifying these monsters with me.
You wasn't with Spider-Man shooting in the gym. You wasn't swinging from them buildings.
You went in the trenches with Cap with me.
None of it. You wasn't there when I lost the Elite Four in Pokemon. Like you wasn't there. You was laughing at me. You know? So it's like it's a bittersweet thing. And like you said, it gives you opportunity to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet. Because while you were outwardly playing Pokemon and liking your nerd stuff, there was I guess a secret popular kid who liked the same things, but he wasn't saying anything because he was a cool kid, you know. So I guess it's in the same realm of, you know, it's great that everybody's, you know, put on now, but at the same time, for people who have been there since day one, it's kind of frustrating because, oh, look at my t-shirt, and I'm like, okay, but can you explain the reference?
Do you know what that's from?
Yeah, do you know where it's from? But it's like you don't want to be a gatekeeper either, like a nerd saying, this is my fandom. Like you don't want to do that. But at the same time, I agree with you guys all the way. It's refreshing, but it's frustrating because I got laughed at. You know, I didn't have as many friends because I had different interests. All the while, you would have liked the same things too had you listened when I try to put you on. So it's sort of like that. That's how I feel about all that.
I just feel like piggybacking off the last thing you said, as far as like not being a gatekeeper, like there's a difference because like the three of us, I feel like we're not that type of person or people. But I feel like that they're like, you know, you obviously as a fan, you still know the ones that, you know, you have to call out and be like, okay, like you're not about that life, you know. But I mean, yeah, but I mean, I'm not the type, or I don't think any of us would be like, you know, oh, hey, like we're gonna bash you about something, or especially you don't like something. I mean, we don't care that much. But you know, if you just now get into Spider-Man, and you're saying, oh yeah, I know all this stuff, and it's like, but you just read one issue yesterday.
you just Googled the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Wikipedia the whole plot.
Yeah, so it's all good to me.
Yeah,
it's all good to me.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when Avatar hit Netflix again, there was like an influx in Avatar fans and stuff like that, and so you have people that are just trying to like throw facts, like they join the Avatar group and they try to throw out these things like, oh, I bet y'all didn't know this. Excuse me, I've been watching this show since before you even knew it existed.
Since day one.
Since day one. Of course I know that. I have the books.
And plus, hey, you ain't gotta have the books.
I have the books.
He's ready.
I have everything.
You gotta have the books because you got it all up here, baby.
Exactly. Like I know this. I have a degree in biology. What do you think I know more about? I do this, but like I said, there's a difference between being a gatekeeper and someone who enjoys a fandom. And I think that's the difference is when you're a gatekeeper when you're not willing to educate people on something that you both now love. And I feel like gatekeepers are more like, well, you weren't here from the beginning, so you don't have the right to like what I like now. And like you said, I don't think we're like that. I feel like we are intelligent enough to acknowledge that, yeah, you may be a new fan. You know, we were here from the beginning, and that what we like is not a fad.
And then you can also be like, you're starting to like this. well, you should also read this one because it connects to what you started off of, and
exactly,
and you get them more immersed into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do one issue.
Exactly. Don't just do one issue and think you down. Like, don't just watch season 1 of Avatar: The Last Air or season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender and think you know all about Avatar Kyoshi, and it don't work like that. It's just here. Pick the comic up, pick the book, Rise of Kyoshi, learn her history. You know, it's about educating and bringing people into your fandom, and you know, kind of hoping that they stick around after the hype has died down.
Exactly.
Hey, you know, I was on TikTok and there's a new sound trending where it's like there's all these new key triggers, like for theater kids, it's like the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh yeah.
For some other kids, it's something else. And then it was like for cartoon lovers, here's the one they start playing, Little Soldier Boy or whatever by when Uncle Iroh sings it.
Yeah,
it
Divine,
makes me emotional every time I hear.
Yeah, Leaves from Divine is I saw that in the Avatar group, and they played the first 2 notes or whatever, and like automatically my mind went to the episode where he was singing about his son that had died in the war. It's just like I said, it's just crazy how quickly I guess nerd culture and fandom culture has just spread, and I don't know where it came. I don't know if Marvel was behind making nerd stuff cool. I don't know, because it seemed like it came out of nowhere.
Or maybe DC, Batman. As far as the information I've gathered, you know, I feel like I think that Marvel did, but at the time, I think Trey and I talked about this in our last podcast. Something that Trey actually taught me. The military was trying to fund, you know, a way to I think what did you say, Trey, to have the military fund through
oh yeah, so it was like World War II or World War I, something like that, whenever Captain America was first whenever Captain America was first being published, the Marvel wanted to help the efforts in the war, so they started making more of these Captain America comic books to sell.
Oh wow!
To have people so they can buy like those bond the bail bonds that are worth like a whole bunch more money if you hold on to them later in time, so that they can send the money over to the soldiers to, you know, make ammunition and, you know, send them food and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that, like, you know, at that time, it was 1939, about that time. And, you know, his face was everywhere.
Yeah.
And same with Batman. Batman and Superman were huge faces, like, you know, the protectors of America. You know, Superman will save you during the day, and then Batman will save you during the night, you know, from crime. Because with Batman, too, Batman's face is everywhere because there's a lot of crime in New York City. And just pretty much everywhere. And people needed, you know, someone to protect people because it was like, you know, a time of war and all that. So, I think both. I think it was Marvel and DC at the same time.
That kind of brought it to light.
You know, I think Marvel definitely popularized everything so much more because, you know, there was movies way before that. You know, you got Blade, you got the original Batmans, all that. But then I feel like when the first Iron Man came out, that's when, you know, it started being like, oh, we can really get into this.
It started being a little more than just, you know, your average superhero stuff. I think what happened was they built a universe, and they kind of, I guess, whatever they did resonated with people who kind of had these, you know, hidden loves for fantasy, sci-fi, superheroes, and it made it, I guess, I don't want to say they made it cool, but it made it okay to like things that are not conventionally cool.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. I'm actually going to do an episode on my podcast about the history of Marvel. So I'm going to dive really deep into that. I'm going to do 3 episodes. So
3-part, okay.
Yeah,
that's a lot of history.
Yeah, yeah, that's deep. That's deep. So, but I think you can go. Yeah, I think that's something that definitely our listeners and viewers are definitely going to want to hear. The history of Marvel Legacy. That's going to be some deep. That's going to be heavy. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, because there's a lot of.
It's going to be an hour long. it's gonna be just me, and then I'm gonna get y'all on for some other history stuff. But I'm gonna do a history department, so.
Oh, I can't wait for that. That's gonna be good. Yeah, yeah. We tune in. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I definitely enjoyed our conversation tonight, fellas. I can't wait to come back again and do this again. I want to say we're going to work out what our next episode is going to be. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching, listening. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends. Before we go, I want to give my co-host the opportunity to plug their social handles and let you guys know what they're working on. So where can we find you at, Trey, and what are you working on now?
Currently not working on anything, but I have some ideas for stuff, so it's coming. But you can follow me on Instagram, Maximum Spidah. That's maximum_SPIDAH, because I had to be different. And then I'm on TikTok. I think it is just Spider Boy with 2 I's instead of a Y. And then you can find me on Facebook, Trey Mosley. I have an official page, and you can see all the updates for me on all that stuff.
Cool.
Yep, and you can follow me on Instagram at Hero Harrison Talk. And if you guys got any suggestions that you want to have on the upcoming podcast, just email me at heroharrisontalk@gmail.com. And Trey, you do got something going on actually. This Friday we got Miles Morales, so he got to do his.
Yeah.
This is gonna be about him, so he's gonna take over.
Yeah, man, we about to be talking about the new the new game that just came out, which I'm on the last mission right now. It's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, I've been playing it on the hardest mode too, low key. It's
okay. Showing out.
There's a little casual flex right there, But we're gonna be talking about that. So tune into that and learn some facts.
Okay. All right, man.
Yep. So, and you can make sure you follow us, the 3 of us, on Instagram at For the Blerdture. We also have a Facebook group of the same name, For the Blerdture. I'm on Instagram as well at Avatar Raiden, AVATARRAIDEN, and you can also follow my
It's all good, man.
You can also follow me on at the
Silver Site.
There you go.
Got you.
You can also follow me at the Silver Site. With that being said, you guys have a great evening, and we'll see you on our next show. Remember, Blerd is Bond.
Blerd is Bond.